Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. I hope you're all doing well. This is the show, I'm going to do it, where we get under the hat of some of the most important topics in franchising. So, what do? Each week, we take a topic and we have a deep delve into that topic with a lovely guest. And we've got a lovely guest this week, no exception to that. So this is a live format. Well, it's live if it's 5:15 GMT for about 45 minutes or so on Tuesday, the 19th of November. So please, if you're here live, put up a comment and we will bring it up on the screen, ask a question. And it's really important because this show is about you. It's about a conversation between all of us. So yes, please do put a comment up if you are here. So the topic we're going to be talking about today is franchise live filming. And it's a subject I know a little bit about. And it's a subject our guest knows a lot about. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mark Harman. Mark, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Hello, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You're absolutely welcome. And in case people don't know about you and what you do, perhaps you'd like to give us a little introduction to yourself and what you do.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Mark from Redbook Productions. I've worked in loads of different sectors, including the franchising sector, but made loads of different types of videos over the years. So I've been doing video production for about, it's coming up 14, 15 years. So maybe 15 years in June. So yeah, 14 and a half years. And over the years, I created loads of different types of videos, from like explainer videos, even like animated videos, filming events, let's say franchise conferences. Lockdown, I did so many live videos and live events as well. So I did loads of that. And then just, loads of different types of video production.
Fantastic. Great introduction. Well, before we get into things today, we have got a few people who have already joined us here live. So let's say hello to everybody. We have Omar. It's great to have Omar with us from America. He's put good morning. Well, good morning to you. It was Omar's birthday recently, I think. So happy 40th to you, Omar, and always great to have you with us. We've got the wonderful Nick Pleathen, one of our lovely sponsors from eTalent, and he has put, it's cold up here in Scotland. Yes, I have heard that you've got a little bit of snow up that way. I mean, it's cold here, but not quite that cold. Great to have you here, Nick. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on filming and how we use film and video in our franchise businesses. We have a new person here today, Shaquille. Great to have you with us, Shaquille. And he's put here from London. Well, welcome to the Franchise Show. Great to have you here with us and looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And we've got the wonderful Penny Hopkinson, again, another one of our lovely sponsors and someone who I've been supporting with their fantastic book. And we're going to do it. And is it going to be the right way round today? It is. And there it is, Manual Magic. Great to have you here, Penny. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And Penny's put, hello, everyone, from a snowy, freezing cold Stratford upon Avon. All this talk of cold is making me feel freezing. And look, let's put up your little logo there as well. We have another comment here from Shaquille. I missed the snow this morning. I didn't get to sleep around 6:30, woke up at 11. Oh, well, there you go. It's certainly sounding like it's cold wherever you are. We've got Katrina Newman here. Great to have you here, Katrina. She's put, hi from my treadmill. Oh, well, we should start talking in a certain amount of beats per minute for you. Hopefully I will be able to listen in okay. Looking forward to hearing what Mark has to say today. Well, absolutely. Me too. We have the wonderful Danny here. Always great to have Danny here. Hello, everyone from a dark, cold London. Well, I'm going to promote your book as well. Danny's wrote this wonderful book. I've got a great big stack of them here. Good to have you with us, Danny. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And we have the wonderful and ever wise Simon Wise. Always good to have Simon with us. And he's put, hello, franchise friends. Hello to you, and great to have you with us as always. And we'll finally end with our final bit of the weather report that we always now seem to do on the franchise show. What's snow? It's sunglasses and Bermudas here in St Albans. Little micro weather system in St Albans. Anyway, great to have everybody here. Mark, let's get into this. I mean, as a franchisor, let's start from a franchisor's perspective. Where should we be using video? You know, and what sort of things should we be videoing, and where should we be putting them out?
So, like in terms of video, if you're a franchisor, I think you need to be looking at like what kind of videos can you do for franchise recruitment. So looking at interviews of your existing franchisees, and I'd look particularly at the ones that have been with you for a long time, and also the ones that have just joined. So the ones that have been with you for a long time will have like that long story about why they joined in the first place, how things have changed over the years, and how like the support's been. And then the newer ones will know why they joined, and it'll be much fresher in their minds. And also they'll be at a totally different stage to the older ones in that things are just starting up. How are things progressing? Are they where they thought they would be at this stage? Where did they hope to be in a year? Where they hope to be in 5 years? So I'd look at those two. So ones that have been there a long time and ones that have been there a short time, and get testimonials for them at the very least. And to develop that even more, I would make like a day in a life of the short-term one and the long-term one, to see what how those two look different, and then perhaps make like a short little documentary about each of those, and then you can get content off of each of those as well. So like short little cut down videos of the day in the life of both of those, and then like you've got the interviews with them throughout the day that you can use as like little testimonial videos as well. So from those like 2 days filming, you can get 2 mini documentaries, testimonials videos that you can then use as like blogs as well. So you can transcribe them into blogs and make lots of content off of that. And then you can have loads of little tiny bits of content you can post on social media as well. So 2 days filming, you can get loads of different bits of content.
Love it. I mean, I'm always learning on this. I was writing that down for genuine reasons. Great stuff. Love it. Let's have a little look, because I think we've got a good comment here that's come in from, in fact, we've got a few here. We've got a good comment coming up from Simon, from Penny, from Tim, and another one from Simon. So let's start with Simon's comment. Now, Simon has put, what difference does video make to getting your franchise value proposition across to prospective franchisees? It's a great question. I mean, you know, there are various different ways to tell a franchisee what you do. You know, you can write it down, you can have a brochure, you can meet them at an exhibition, you know, and to try and get that story and that value proposition across using video, you know, it's certainly going to be more engaging than using traditional written forms, would you say? What do you make of this one?
I think you can use them in a mix of other stuff. So yeah, and it depends on the franchise, like the potential franchisee that's watching it or looking at it. So they might prefer to like read something, or they might prefer to come and meet you in person. I definitely think that all of this stuff should be aimed at when they come and meet you in person. So they want to get to the point where they feel like they know you when they actually get to meet you. And I think there's certain people that do this really, really well within franchising, that they're putting out all these different bits of content. So by the time that they actually do meet the person, it's like, oh, they already feel like they know them. And I
understand what you mean. No, absolutely. I think you're right, because when people engage, and look, let's take this as an example, right? Because when people are watching this and they're listening to us, they're not just listening to us. It's not just a podcast. You know, this is a conversation, and it's driven by the people here, and we're getting to know one another. So it's very powerful if you engage with something correctly. And live video is a really interesting format to engage with people in that way. And I love what you say about you feel like you know someone. I mean, I'm a big fan of podcasts as well, and I listened to a couple of comedy ones, Richard Herring's one and Adam Buxton.
Nice.
And I remember going to watch one of them live and meeting Richard Herring. And it was very strange because I felt I knew him because I'd listened to hundreds of these things, and it does, it's powerful in terms of a connection, isn't it?
Is that Rahustalapa?
Rahestapa, yes, you know it.
Yeah. I love Richard Herring.
Yeah, absolutely. But so powerful because of the way it comes across. It feels more personal than a TV program, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like that long form content as well. Like, because if it's like you can really feel like you're spending the time with that person, and you're getting to know them, you get to know their sense of humor, you get to know the stuff that makes them like feel sad and vulnerable as well to an extent. So yeah, I think it's like making a range of content is a really good idea.
Absolutely. Let's have a look here. A comment from Penny. Penny's put, video is such an important medium in providing a single source of truth in operational training, especially in bite-sized chunks for millennials and Gen Z, who won't read dull, text-heavy ops manuals. Vital for consistency and replicating the business system. Yeah, I think absolutely. We've spoken a little bit here about perhaps having if you're a franchisor, having a couple of days of filming lots of different elements and then using that content in different ways. How important do you think this short form video is for platforms like TikTok and Instagram and even LinkedIn are experimenting?
Yeah, it's about finding like who your audience is and like the typical age of that person, where they're likely to be watching your content. So like age will come into it as a factor. Like will they be watching it on TikTok? Will they be watching it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn? And then working out what's best for that platform. So what kind of content is best for that? Will it be a long form bit of content? Will it be a shorter form like clip to get them watching regular clips and stuff like that? And then just sort of always being present and consistently doing it on a regular basis.
Consistency. This is the thing, isn't it? When I was looking into doing this a year and a half ago, when I started it, I do it every single week at the same time, on the same day. There's a consistency there. People know what to expect. They know when and where they can get, and they get a similar thing because it's the same chap in a hat having a chat. But yeah, consistency I think is so important on these things. Let's have another look. Before we get into another comment here, something you said that I thought was really relevant, and it's knowing your audience. And I think perhaps we should touch on this because that should happen probably pretty early on in things. Or can that happen? Can you create content and then edit that to suit an audience? Or do you have to know your audience before you create?
That's interesting because when I interview franchisees for like franchise testimonials, it's interesting to find out what they did before. Like, and in some franchises, it's like I was an accountant, and it's like everyone was an accountant or was in like finance, something similar. And others, it's everyone's different, but they've all got like one thing in common, and that's what brought them to that business. So there's one that I did that was in the care sector. And the one thing that united them was the franchisor, and they were like, it was because of him that I did it. Okay. And that they had loads of varying different life experiences and work experiences, but like the one reason was because of the franchisor. And then others, it's like they all had an interest in this sector and they wanted to make their own business, but they didn't know, like they wanted some backup, and they wanted like a manual of how to do it and the help there. So yeah, but just by talking to those people, talking to your existing franchisees, you will find that out about like why they joined or what they did before, and then you'll sort of work out, okay, this is the target audience.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important to know who you're delivering that message to, and there's various different ways to discover who that audience is amongst your existing franchisees and amongst I guess you've got an avatar that you're targeting with your advertising, so you know roughly who they are. Let's just say hello to somebody else who has joined us here live. I'd like to say hello to Dr. Constance Leyland. She's put, hi, Brother Harvey Tuck. Well, it's great to have you here, Constance. Very busy lady on various different social platforms. And Constance has put, consistency is everything, but focusing on what you need to be consistent for makes a big difference. You could be consistent with something that doesn't work for you. So be open to change and always be agile. I think this is a great comment, Constance. What do you make of this one, Mark?
So yeah, you mentioned that I produced the video show, which is my
You do.
I record myself talking about video and answering people's questions about video, and like that I've been consistent in that. So over the past 7-8 years, I've made like 400 odd episodes, and the format of that has changed constantly. So sometimes it was me like sat on my sofa just pulling questions out of a box and answering them. Sometimes it was getting like people, like interviewing people. Sometimes it was a live show, so I did live show a lot during lockdown, and then it was like me walking to work just talking about video. And like some of those work better than others, but I think by always sort of changing it up, I was keeping it fresh. But like I was consistent, but I was like always trying to be different and keep it fresh, kind of thing as well. So that is that's an interesting point. And I think like if you find out it's not working, then try something that you think might work.
Yeah,
the consistency was the key there.
Yeah, I think you can consistently do something and still keep it agile. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same for it to be consistent. A time and who does it. I do this at the same time, but it's changed quite a lot over the course. It evolves, and these things naturally do evolve. I think the only thing that remains consistent with this is the fact that it's community or audience first, always, guest second, and me third, always in that order, because it's about our community and it's about a discussion normally between our guest and the community. In fact, why am I here? But I think that's what's remained consistent, how important the audience is. Let's have a look. We've got let's take a question here from Danny, but we're also going to have a question from Tim and from Paul Wilkinson, where we'll put up a comment as well. So Danny has put, what is the most common type of videos you record in franchising, as in what topics and purpose?
So I definitely say the most common is testimonials. So getting testimonials from franchisees. So I would go to like their location, whether it be an office or a showroom in some cases, and then talk to them about why they joined, like what's the day-to-day like, what's a typical day like, what's the support like, and just ask these really important questions. I do have a list of these, so if you do want to contact me afterwards, I can just send you this list of questions that I've got. But it's just important to get these answers from people and then sort of create a video around that person. But that's by far the most common one. And then like I also do events and stuff like that, but like, even at those events I am getting testimonials from franchisees.
Franchisee validation, that's what that is, isn't it? When you're looking to make a decision in any franchise business, you're looking for different perspectives. You're looking for reassurance that you are making the right decision. And looking at those videos, and on our other show on Franchising Brand Stories, we're trying to get behind the individuals that run these businesses and really understand those individuals and those people. And I think that all of these things are important to gain a different perspective on a business that you're looking to get involved in. It's really, really important. Let's have a look at Tim's question here. In case I haven't said hello, welcome to the show, Tim. Always good to have you here. And Tim has put, what do you think about AI tools like Opus to create shorts from long form video? Well, look, it wouldn't be an episode of this if we didn't bring in the lovely AI questions. Thank you, Tim. But it's very important because, AI is a tool. And I like the fact that Tim has mentioned the word tool. Spell check was a tool, predictive text was a tool, and AI is a tool. And I think it can be useful, but it needs creative minds around it to make sure it's doing what it should be doing. But what's your thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, I'd echo that really. I've used Opus a few times for getting clips from podcasts. So I do a podcast about film photography. Quick plug, it's called The Full Frame on YouTube, so feel free to check it out. But yeah, we interviewed a guy who's like a celebrity photographer. So over the years he's like photographed loads of celebrities, from like prime ministers to Robbie Williams to Robin Williams, and loads of other people. But we interviewed him, and this is like an hour 24-minute long interview, and I uploaded that video to Opus, and then you can get clips. But I think the thing I noticed when I was going through it was that so many of those clips were just irrelevant. So you have to go through and carefully select what you want. And then I was going through and like editing it. So some of the words were inaccurate on the subtitles. So it went on sometimes too long for YouTube Shorts. So for YouTube Shorts, it used to be a minute or under. And these were like sometimes 2-3 minute clips. Otherwise, it would just post it as a normal YouTube video. But I wanted these to be on YouTube Shorts, so they're kind of separate from the rest of the videos. So I was sort of going through and with a fine tooth comb and selecting clips. So it came out with like 20 clips, and in the end, I sort of got 4 that I edited and then posted out. So be careful don't just sort of go, yeah, that'll do, and then post it. Go through it and like check it. And that's the same, I think, with a lot of AI stuff. So like with ChatGPT, I use it to make YouTube descriptions. Because like I can't write 5,000 words describing what a video is, but if I write a prompt into ChatGPT, it will give me a reasonable description that will work, and it will have like keywords that connect to what the video is about. So I would do that, but then go through and check it, because like the default it comes back with is like a lot of American spelling. So then you have to say like change it to British English, and then just go through and just check that it's relevant. Because sometimes it gives you like chapter titles, and it's like, well, that's not relevant to the video. To just go through and check what it's actually talking about and make sure it's right. Don't just sort of accept, oh yeah, it must work. And I think that's right with all AI stuff. But yeah, I have used Opus a few times.
I think you're absolutely right. You do need to check it. It can sometimes serve as a framework of an idea. It can give you the sort of, and then you can go into it, take out that bit, change that bit. It's always easier to change something somebody else has already done than it is to create the thing from a blank piece of paper. So I think we're all getting used to using AI as a tool, and trying to use it in the best possible way. One thing I wanted to get into, because we do things a little bit differently. I know you have touched on live, like this is right now. What's your sort of views on a live broadcast that involves a community of people live at that time and that level of engagement, versus putting out a podcast, and then obviously people can comment on that podcast. They can obviously watch it at their leisure, and that works better. But what are your sort of thoughts, one thing versus another? Do you think you can get as good an engagement with recorded?
I think you can. I think it depends on, like, for me, this is why I stopped doing live video, and it's because lockdown ended. And with lockdown, I was in the same place at the same time every day, essentially. Every day was the same. And as soon as lockdown ended, I was back to like traveling all over the country, like filming stuff. So like I couldn't guarantee I would be like at home or in the office at 5:15 on a Tuesday evening, for example. but like we've had this booked in for about 6 months, so I could pretty much guarantee it. So it didn't work for me in that respect, but I see the sort of following that you've cultivated and grown. So it definitely does work. And I was getting that in lockdown. I was getting like a following that people knew. I think it was like at Mondays and Fridays, a certain time would go live. And people's attention was quite, was more, people were more like paying attention because they didn't have a lot going on during lockdown. But I think if you're going to do it, you've got to be consistent with live, especially. So everyone knows you are 5:15 Tuesday going live. But like with the pre-recorded stuff, so like with the full frame that I do, which is about film photography, it's every Friday at 5 o'clock. But for me, that's a little bit easier because I know that on a Monday I'll edit the video and then it goes out on a Friday. So that just works better for me. So I think it's just, if you know you can do a live consistently, then you will be able to grow that audience. But if you think, oh, I will be able to upload something and make it like it'll go out on a certain day at a certain time, do that, because that's a bit easier, because you're being a bit easier on yourself. And also with live, we touched on this off air as well, like lots of stuff goes wrong.
And we know anything about that.
I learned this like ridiculously the hard way, because we was doing Franchise Fest in 2020, which is like June 2020, and I think it was like, it wasn't quite lockdown. Like you could gather in like groups of 2 or 3 or something. So it was me and Adam Lovelock in the office here. I think Sean Goldsmith was here as well. And like for the first 10 minutes, all the sound was out of sync. And I had people texting me like the sound is out of sync. And like you quickly have to learn, it's just calm down. How can I fix it whilst they're still live? And like loads of stuff has gone wrong on various live videos I've done. And it's just like, right, calm down. I've got all the equipment here that I need to do. How do I just calm down and make sure it works? And that's like the biggest lesson I learned from doing live videos, just being calm. And just accepting things will go wrong, and you won't know when it's going to go wrong, but when it does, just sort of, you know how to fix it. Just stay calm and take it slow.
Absolutely. It's a really interesting point, actually, and oh my goodness, does it resonate with me. I mean, you have to be brave when you do these things because it is live, but I think when it goes wrong, it's part of it, because people know it's live and people know it can go wrong. It's part of the fun of it in a way. And I think of the times it's gone wrong, and this has gone wrong in every way you can possibly, sound not working, pictures not working, people not turning up, my internet breaking, their internet breaking, and the whole fear that guests have, and I had at the beginning, that, it's live. What do you say? But the big thing for me about it being live, and it's why I said about it being audience first, is this was never about me. This was always about the community that I'm immersed in, and communicating and connecting and talking and listening to them. And that, as soon as that was clear, it's really easy, because you're just lifting other people up around you. So
I'd be interested to know, like when you started, did you have this many people commenting?
No, it definitely grew. But I think that the people that do comment are people that I know them really well, and I've know them really well through doing this, and they're part of our community, and they are the producers of this show. Everyone that's here live is the producers and directors of this show, because I genuinely write for this show. I write down nothing at the beginning. I showed you the bit.
You showed me, yeah.
Right, and there's nothing written on it, and that helps me in a way, because you don't have to remember anything if you haven't written anything down. But the other reason is because I know that we have an amazingly engaged group of individuals that that ask fantastic questions, and it really does drive our conversation. So as I say, they're the producers of it, and they keep it relevant as well, because it's always going to be. People ask me, how do you come up with a topic and how do you come up with a discussion that's relevant? Well, it's simple. It's relevant because the audience and the community make it relevant to them, because they're the ones that have asked the questions. If I came up with a list of questions, that might not be what people want to hear, or or what they want to say. So yeah, no, it's really interesting to sort of discuss the differences between the two. And a question I was going to ask you, actually, and this is a bit of a technical question, but I think it will help franchisors when they're looking at this. If you've done a long form video and you are looking to chop that up, I mean, Tim was mentioned there using, and we've talked about using AI to chop up and create this short. Are there any good tips for someone who's got a long form video to divide up that content? Can you use sort of prompts as you're going along to say, look, this was a good bit? Is there a way of making the editing process easier?
Yeah, so the way I do it when I'm going through it, like I leave little markers. So like when I'm editing, you just press M and it leaves a marker. So like I'll know, oh, that's a good point as I'm editing it. So that's a good way. Like if you're editing it yourself, just leave a little marker there to do it. Or like if you're not doing that, you can just get like Adobe Premiere Pro, just sort of subtitles all of your video. So then you could then search the subtitles for particular keywords. So if you're talking about a particular subject, you can type that in and find out, oh yeah, that was at like 27 minutes, or that was at 48 minutes, and then find out where those are. And that's probably another way of doing it. So yeah, you could just do it like that.
That's a good idea. I mean, YouTube does a transcription, doesn't it, of which
yeah, exactly. YouTube would do it.
Search that transcription. So yeah, really, really interesting. I mean, one of the reasons that I chose live at the beginning was because I didn't have time to edit this. It was genuinely one of the reasons.
Yeah, it just happens.
But when you finished it and you press end, it's uploaded and it's out there, however it's gone. So I kind of quite like that about it. Let's have a look. We've got a comment come up here from Tim. Before we get to that, if you have just joined us today, this is the Franchise Show, and today we are discussing franchise live filming and live video, and what we do and how we do it and who we should be doing it for. And we are talking with Mark Harman. And it's been a fascinating conversation so far. So Tim has put a comment here, and he's put, we are seeing a couple of franchise brands pivoting their marketing support for franchisees to content creation, produced in-house, full-time content creators, with lots of content being video for all platforms. Do you see this as a way forward for franchisors generally? Interesting question. What do you make of this one, Mark?
I actually was working with someone this year who has done that. So they got rid of me and brought in the whole team doing video. So that's great for them. And then I think that like if you can afford that, that's really good. But like if not, just sort of look at freelancers to do stuff, or think about if you can't afford like freelancers regularly to do that, how can you do it yourself? Like there's certain people I know that do it really, really well. Just like they're constantly creating stuff themselves. Like when they're at events or like they're on TikTok like regularly, like just amazingly, what's the word I'm looking for? But just regular doing stuff, and they're like regimented. They need to do this and like all the time. So yeah, I think like if you can afford to bring in like an in-house team doing that, brilliant. If not, look at freelancers, and if not, then how can you do it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, there are all sorts of people that stand out in my mind. I mean, Anne-Marie from
I was hinting heavily at Anne-Marie.
Say it. We're not the BBC here. We can say whatever we want. She's brilliant on TikTok and really has mastered that, and Amrit from Wolfinch, and his Walking with Wolfinch is brilliant, Ryan from Teslom, again, these individuals have found a way to get their names out there using various different platforms and various different styles of video content. And we must mention Tim, he's got a fantastic franchise podcast. that he does with Natalia and Kevin, and you know, another great way to, you know, to get your name out there to a community. So fantastic. Let's have a look. First of all, I want to welcome Jitin to the show. Great, always great to have you here, Jitin. Jitin was a franchisee, just aged 22. And he's put good evening, Harvey, Mark, and franchise friends. Well, it's great to have you here, Jitin. Be interested to hear your thoughts about video and how we use video and how you've used it in your businesses in the past. Let's have a little look at a comment here from Danny. And Danny's put, I think it's worth mentioning repurposing video content too. One long video content piece can be repurposed for video shorts, reels, audio quotes, social posts, and more. Yeah, absolutely, Danny. We touched on this right at the beginning when Mark was talking about a long session of video production, you know, a couple of days, and then chopping it up. But it's, you know, it's really important, isn't it, Mark, to you know, to note this and to sort of, you know, make this point again that you can use and reuse video content.
Yeah, I would think like just plan what you're going to do. So like maybe look at what you've already got and see if you can repurpose that. But if you've got something coming up, make sure you're planning what you're going to repurpose and like how you're going to do it. So if you're interviewing people as part of a longer video, you could use those questions as short videos. Each of those questions can be a video. So yeah, there's so much stuff you can do. So like when I was filming at the Fast Science Convention on Friday, we did like podcast interviews. So we did like long interviews with franchisees and John, who's on there next week, he said. We had an interview of him, but that will go out as a long video, and they will go out as little clips as well. And then there'll be like an overall video of like the day as well. So there's so much that you can get from like, if you've got a franchise conference, there's so much content you can get from that one day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to, as a franchisor, to realize the value of video content, and you know, and how it can be used in so many different ways. I just want to quickly, while we're at this point, it's reminded me, having Gather's QR code up there, we have a little survey here on the Franchise Show. And the purpose of the survey is to get further engagement and further feedback from our wonderful community as to, one, what do you think of this? And two, what subjects and topics would you like to see us discussing in the future? So the QR code that is currently in the top left, the little QR code, if you're listening now or in the future, scan that, please, and fill out that little survey. It only takes a couple of minutes, but it would be great to hear your feedback. Do want to recognize the fact that we've got the wonderful Joe Caruso here. And Joe was a fantastic last minute guest for me. He saved the day. I've wanted Joe on the show for probably from the beginning. Big fan of the show that he used to do, which is an audio show. A big fan of what he does in franchising as well. And he's put good afternoon, Harvey and Mark, from the great metropolis of Harvey de Grace. I probably not pronounced that correctly, and it's sort of like my name as well. Anyway, Maryland, got that bit. Good stuff. Great to have you here, Joe, as ever, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts as well on where video has come into the franchise brands that you've dealt with over the years. And I know that you've dealt with a lot. We've got a comment coming up here from Simon. Let's have a look at this one. Simon's put, video content, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Absolutely, it is. Some of our shows from season 1 of Franchising Brand Stories are still gaining views long after the show has aired. Yeah, absolutely. What do you make of this one? We're going to get on, and we've got a little bit of time left, but it would be good to get on as to, we've spoken a lot about the type of video, how you can break that video up into other forms of video. But I think it's important now to look at where we put that out. What social media platforms do we put it out in our own websites? But yeah, absolutely. The episodes of Franchising Brand Stories are still getting views long after they were live. So yeah, what do you make about this question firstly?
Yeah, okay.
And then social media.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've like on my YouTube channel, there's videos that they die after a little bit, and then you can refresh them by like changing the thumbnail and stuff like that, and then they live a new life. And there's some that just go over time and they just keep getting views because they stay relevant. So like with my film photography channel, like there's certain cameras that people are always searching for that we've done reviews on that always get views, or certain film stocks. This is like this, but yeah, they'll keep getting views. So there's certain subjects that you talk about that will always get views because people will always be searching them. But for the ones that don't, you can refresh those videos and like change the thumbnails up and stuff like that, to like keep them, or like try and like reshuffle it a bit and make sure like get YouTube sharing them again, or you can like actually share those videos again. So for example, with the video show, there's videos I made like 5 years ago. So now I'll post that on LinkedIn and say, was I right? Like I'll be predicting what video we doing in 5 years time, and like I wasn't talking about AI like 5 years ago. So there'll be certain things like in lockdown I was talking about what will events be like after lockdown, and I thought there would be like a hybrid, lots of people doing like hybrid stuff, but I think people have largely gone back to normal, just going to events, and there's not really been that hybrid element to it where people are joining these events online. So that's an interesting thought. Like you could go back to that video and like look at that and see like how if I was right or if I was wrong. So that's a good way of reusing old content. And then talking about the best platforms, I think just looking about where your audience is watching and like how old your audience are, where would they typically be watching. So YouTube is a good place for certain things, but it's not great for other stuff. So for franchising stuff, I think a really good place is LinkedIn, because you've got like it's more of a business minded conversation. And then there's certain ones like the children's activities franchises, they do amazingly well on TikTok because the audience is there. So you've got parents that will be on TikTok or like on Instagram constantly watching stuff. So if you're like Anne-Marie, we mentioned earlier, she's got it right and she's constant with it. And I think a lot of people are following suit with that. They're in the children's activity sector, but I think Anne-Marie is like the most prolific one that I've met.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, it's just like it's working out where your audience is and then just being constantly posted on there.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And I think another thing that was really interesting, we did an episode of this from Sky Studios the other week, and my son actually was on that. My son's studying film. And one thing that my son said was that it's about looking at things that are trending, right, when you're creating content. And I thought to myself, that can be hard when you've got a particular business doing a particular thing that's not relevant to a word or a topic that's trending. But actually, you can find a way perhaps to make something you're doing that's in an industry reflect something that is trending in the wider community to make that video more popular. Or perhaps you could take the other view that you don't need it to be viewed by millions of people. You need it to be viewed by the right people. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so there's I work with an estate agent. She's more of a buying agent based in London, and she is really niche with who our audience is. So it's like Americans who want to buy houses in London. So that's really quite niche. So all the content is all based at like American people. So that the prices she talks about are in dollars. She talks about what life is like in London, like what Thanksgiving is like in London. So English people will have no interest in that, but it's like places you can go in London for Thanksgiving. So yeah, those videos are really niche, but they do work, and like there are people that like know her for her videos, and like we said earlier, like they feel like they know her because they watch her videos regularly. So each and every week those videos go out, like people are watching them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a couple more comments coming up here. We are starting to draw towards an end today. We've got about 5 minutes left. Let's see if we can get up 2 more comments before we conclude things today. This is one from Jitten. And Jitten's put, I think video has started to play a pivotal part in all parts of a business life cycle, from prospecting and marketing through to testimonials and case studies. Mark, in your opinion, where has video made the greatest impact for franchisors and franchisees? And where do you see video bridging the gap in franchising? Yeah, a great question. What do you make of this one? Where has it made the most impact?
In terms of biggest impact, so like for like an actual example.
Yeah, for a franchisor, you know, I suppose based on what you've said so far, it's that testimonial that is making an impact, because that's helping someone make a decision as to whether to, as part of the you know, the prospect journge, isn't it?
Yeah, one that springs to mind actually is Ryan from Tesla, and I did allude to him earlier, but then you mentioned him by name, so I'm going to bring him up again. But yeah, I've spoken to Ryan a few times about, like, because he makes these podcasts on the Tesla, and he interviews people that come to his office. So for some people, to get to Southport is a trek. Like, I've been to his office and it's like 4 hours from where I am, but because he does it in person, I think that's more impactful. So people have to go there to do it. Like, he won't do it online. And then he says, like, he goes to the shows regularly. So he goes to like the Excel, Olympia, and the NEC. And the people that come up to him and come up to the his stand, they feel like they know him because they've been watching his podcast, because they've been watching his stuff on Instagram. So I think, like, his stuff has been like the most impactful that I've seen, as an example that springs to mind. And that's like long form content, and he's consistent with it. Yeah, and like, people know the brand.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good example.
I think you're right. I think it's really powerful, and I think this is a theme that's carried through today's episode, that if you do something consistent on whatever platform that you're on, appealing to an audience that you're trying to reach, but if you do it in an engaging way, you become, they know you already. They've already started to get to know you before they've even spoken to you. And I think that's a very powerful part of what video, and live video particularly, can do. Oh gosh, we got loads more questions that have come in. And we're 3 minutes before the end. But look, we can do whatever we want here. That's the kind of rebels we are here at the Franchise Show. So if you've got some extra time, Mark, should we just take a couple more questions?
Yeah, I've got like 5 more minutes. If that's okay. Yeah.
Come on then. Let's have a look. Let's take one from Simon. Will we see the demise of the franchise brochure? This is interesting. Would this be replaced by video, do you think, in the future?
Well, at the moment, I'm kind of seeing it like as a hand-in-hand thing. So I said earlier that there's certain people that will want like a tangible like thing that they can read or like hold in their hand, but other people will want to watch video. So it's sort of working out, is it still something I need to be doing? And if so, keep doing it, and if not, stop doing it. But yeah, I think that's
absolutely. Yeah, I think you are. I think you're absolutely right. I think the two things currently lay sort of hand in hand. Right. Let's take 2 more questions. We're going to get to these. Joe's put, recommend video for ongoing training, in particular if you have cloud-based operations manual platform delivered on your mobile for every employee. Absolutely. And I know that Penny will have something to say on this one, because it's really important to deliver your ops manual in an engaging way now, rather than a 200-page door stopping book. You know, you want something that people can engage in. And I certainly think that video for an ops manual is the way forward. What's your thoughts?
I agree, and I agree. You said the word engaging there, and I think it definitely needs to be engaging. Like, the days when I was employed, I used to work in Argos, so like I had to watch these like training videos, and they were so dull and boring. But like, you see like some, I can't really think of any, but like you see some that are much more engaging. And those are the ones you want to be watching, where they're like entertaining and you're actually learning something from it, and you want to watch the next one as well. So
definitely.
I think that's definitely the way to go. I was thinking engaging before you said it, so yeah.
We think alike there. No, absolutely. Well, look, I don't want to take up any more of people's time. It's always fantastic to have these conversations. We could probably go on for a couple of hours because it's a really fascinating conversation. But I'm sure people have their days to be getting on with, and we will have this chat again. I'm certain of it. So I would like to thank everyone who has joined us live today. This show is what it is because of you all, and the conversations that we have. So thank you to everybody who has joined us here live. And thank you to you, Mark, for your time today and sharing your experiences with us all. Really appreciate that. Before I get on to what's going to happen next week, perhaps you could let people know the best way to get hold of you if they would like to use your wonderful services.
So I think the best way of getting in touch with me is going on LinkedIn and just like looking up Mark Harman, Redbook Productions. Also my website, redbookproductions.co.uk. And for the shows I mentioned, the video show is on my website on Redbook Productions, and the full frame is on YouTube. Just put in the full frame podcast and that will come up as well.
Fantastic. And Mark, if you could go to the comments after the show and put some links and so forth in there, people can always find that now and in the future. So that would be fantastic. Okay, so this week on our sister show on Franchising Brand Stories, we are going to be talking with Action Coach, and we're going to be finding out what's under the hat of that particular brand. So that's going to be fantastic. Join us Thursday, 21st of November at 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. And next Tuesday on the Franchise Show, we are talking when franchises stop making money. So it's going to be a serious conversation there, and hopefully we're going to come up with some good ways for that not to happen. And we're going to be talking with the wonderful Neil Muttock from Evolve, all about that particular subject. So please join us for that conversation next Tuesday, the 26th of November, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. And until next time, my friends.